Hello, my friends. Here I am, Pedro Candeias from Karate Science Academy for another class, another open class here on our YouTube. And today I'm going to talk about a very important issue about the training methodology, but sometimes people don't really stop to think about it and just create and grab a random exercise to develop, for example, power, strength, speed that doesn't have exactly a good transfer to Kumite or Kata. Okay, because every exercise must have certain characteristics to be effective to the development of the of what we need to make in our case in Kumite or Kata. Okay, we can't just grab some random exercises for from track and field, from American football, from I don't know, baseball, gymnastics, and just take them and put it on a training program for Kumite or Kata. Maybe we can find some exercises that meet the what we really need, but most of the times it doesn't happen. Okay, that doesn't happen, or we have to be able to make some little adaptations so the exercise really becomes useful for our karate practice. Okay, so I just desire that you go out of this class at the end with being autonomous, okay, with the autonomy to create or to grab the good exercise you find on the internet, so you can take your athletes to the next level in terms of coordination, speed, technique, power, etc. Because these principles, these five key elements I'm going to give you today are suitable to all kinds of exercises you need to develop to take your Kumite or Kata athletes to the next level. Okay, so let's see how can an exercise have a high level of transferability. Okay, can be a good transfer to Kumite or Kata techniques, displacements, etc. Okay, so let's talk about the first key element. Okay, um, the exercise, okay, must be as similar as possible um, to the karate technique I want to develop. Okay, let's suppose that I want to improve my oitsuki or my maigeri or my displacement. I want to develop my oitsuki speed, for example, or power. Okay, the same thing to with the maigeri with the displacement. It doesn't matter. The elements, the principles are exactly the same. Okay, so if I can add the proper load to develop a certain skill, a certain type of strength that is really relevant to my athlete. So I have to do it. Okay. If I can, for example, I'm going to show you here a video. In our Instagram, you can find several exercises made by me or by Mariana Kjuk from Croatia, that is also collaborating with Karate Science Academy, is a new partner that I have in this path of spreading good and evidence-based knowledge in the karate world. you can find several examples of good exercises that are going to have a good transfer to Kumite or Kata techniques. For example, I have here this one, for example, okay? This exercise with a rubber band is exactly a Gyakutsuki, okay? So if I can add the proper load to develop power, to develop reactive strength, to develop speed, to develop explosive strength. So I just grab the movement, I just grab the equipment and make and apply the right protocol for the goal I have. Okay. Here I have another example of an adapted, okay, punch, straight punch in another direction. Okay. I'm going to talk about it in the second key element, but pay attention to this because it's important. Okay. So whenever I can grab the technique itself, put the right load to use the most effective evidence-based protocol to develop speed or whatever, okay, I must do it, okay? But sometimes it's not easy to replicate the technique itself, okay? For example, a Moashigeri is very hard to add an external load in such complex movement as Moashigeri, where we raise our knee, we turn our hips, and then I stretch my knee, and then the foot. Okay, it's hard to have an equipment that allows me to produce the right force in the right direction in every movement plan. Okay, so I have to search for alternatives that are also effective and have a good transfer to what I need in a displacement or a kick, for example. Okay, so let's see now the second key element, that is multi-joint exercises. Okay, whenever I want or I need to search or to integrate more generic exercises as deadlifts, as shoulder presses, as bench presses, squats, rows, okay, that are very relevant and very useful exercises to develop our Kumite and Kata skills. I need to most of the times use multi-joint exercise because most of karate techniques are multi-joint movements. Okay, for example, when I make a displacement, a fast displacement in Kumite or Kata, I'm recruiting the muscles of the hip, the knee, the thigh. Okay, for my lower leg, my calves, for example. Okay, so I'm going to grab exercises that obligate me to move several joints to produce to execute that exercise. For example, a squat. I'm going to show you here some examples, some generic exercise that every karateka should include in his or her strength program or speed or power program. The deadlift, for example, it's a multi-joint exercise. I have to integrate my knee and my hip movements in the exercise. Okay, and these are muscles involved in the displacement, for example, or in a jump or in a kick. The squat, for example, okay, another exercise. The lunge. For the upper limbs, we have the row that can be seated, standing. This is an exercise that as you can see, it fits on the first key element because it's very, very similar to the ikite, okay, itself. We have also the close grip bench press here, very similar to an oitsuki, a straight punch. So whenever I can use the first key element, great. When I can't, I'm going to choose multi-joint exercises, okay? Preferably, yes? And also because there is a key element in the training periodization for an athlete in a long-term process, that is training variation. The variability of training is very, very, very important. So they don't fall into a training monotony that will be very negative in the long term for their mental and physical readiness for training and for competing. Okay, so sometimes I just decide to not make the exactly the punch with the rubber band, and I'm going to make this kind of movement with a dumbbell, for example, because it will have also a good transfer to the punch and other karate techniques, and it will um, allow your athlete to engage in a more in a more varied training program, and that's important for their motivation, for their long-term development, and all of that. Okay, so I'm seeing my notes. You, if it's not the first class you watch, you know it's me, my computer, my notes, to not to forget any key information I really want to share with you. So let's go to the third key element, that is force direction. Okay, I always need to produce strength, okay, in the right direction against a resistance that is in the opposite direction of the movement I want to make. Okay, for example, I'm going to show you here a video from a course I gave in Portugal in April. That is this kind of exercise. Okay, this is widespread all over the internet, not only in karate but in other combat sports. Well, what's the problem with this? If you want to use this to develop your punch power, your punch endurance, your punch speed, the force direction, the direction of the forces is not correct. If the punch is made in this direction and the dumbbell is putting the resistance in this direction, I'm not stimulating my muscles in the right direction. Okay, I have to put, for example, a rubber band or a cable and put the resistance in the correct direction where I'm applying the punch, the movement itself. Okay, this can have a small, okay, relevance if you just want to increase your endurance strength in your shoulders, to keep your arms here, to keep a high guard. Okay, for example. Okay, that's correct. The resistance of the dumbbell is in this way, and I want to keep my arms, okay, here, and that's a good decision. Okay, but if the goal is to improve my punch, this is not a good way of doing it. I'm going to show you another video from that course I gave about the gym in karate. For example, this is a well applied force direction for the punch, for the straight punch, for example. Okay, the resistance goes downwards, okay, and my force is produced upwards against the resistance. Okay, and here I'm stimulating my muscles to make a faster and more powerful punch. Okay, I hope these were good examples and helped you to understand a little bit more here. I was what I let's go back to the second key element, because I forgot one very important thing. Very important thing. I need to make multi-joint exercises, for example, for the development of a punch, power and strength, and what else? I have the front deltoid. Okay, I have the tricep involved in the punch. I have the forearm rotators involved, but I can't just make exercise for my front delt, exercise for my tricep, and so on. That's not a good strategy to develop the specific movement of a punch. Why? Because the punch is not the sum of the front delt power and strength, the tricep power and strength, the forearm and fist rotators as power and strength. That's not how our neuromuscular system works. Okay, we need to develop a specific intermuscular coordination. In other words, our muscles must learn how to work together in a given movement, in a given karate technique. So they need to learn how to transfer their own forces to the next part of the movement. Okay, how to connect the force between the front delt and the tricep, for example, how to stabilize the certain muscles so the punch can be more efficient in energetical terms, for example. Okay, so we always must teach the muscles involved in a complex movement as a gyakuzuki, as a displacement from a zenkutsudashi to a shikodashi, from a maigeri. I need to teach those muscles to work together. Okay, it's not just the sum of the strength and power of each muscle isolated. That doesn't have a good transfer to what we need to do in karate. For example, in a displacement, the quads, the quads are involved, for example. Okay, but also the glutes, also the calves, for example. So I won't have enough transfer from a leg extension, for example. If I go to the machine for for the leg extension, and I just make this movement in my knee, okay, it's true that the quads are involved in the displacement in the moashigeri, for example, but a moashigeri is not only that final movement. A displacement is not just the strength of the quads. The quads must coordinate themselves with the glutes, the calves, the antagonists, for example, the hamstrings. So we only achieve that with the multi-joint exercise, as for example the deadlift or the squat and that kind of exercise, or a jump, for example, or a derivative of Olympic weightlifts, for example, are all good examples of multi-joint exercise that will put your quads performing, producing strength and power coordinated with the other involved muscles in that same movement. Okay, this is also always the principle. Always, always, always. Well, let's go to the fourth key element. Movement range. Okay, okay. If we're talking about more generic exercise as the squat or the lunge, for example, it's always a good strategy to give your neuromuscular system, your central nervous system, more resources. So we will ask our athletes to make that squat in different movement ranges. Okay, so their lower limbs, for example, are able to produce strength in several range of motion. Okay, that's very important, so they have more resources when they need them in a certain kata or kumite action. Okay, but if I want to develop a specific technique, I need to evaluate the specific range of motion of that technique, that specific technique. I'm going to give you an example. For example, the shutouke. Some karatekas do it from the shoulder, and other ones do it from the elbow. I won't discuss if one is better or worse, it's more traditional or not. That's not my work here in Karate Science Academy. I just want to give you evidence-based training methodology to help you with your own karate to get another level and achieve another level. Okay, so if I want to develop the speed of this specific movement, I need to observe if I make it from the elbow or from the shoulder, because our neuromuscular system will have to learn to produce the maximum power or speed from that specific range of movement. It's specific to what we need in karate, in that specific technique. Okay, so I need, for example, to put a rubber is a good equipment to develop this kind of specific movement. Okay, so I must put my athletes doing the shutouke from the elbow, if that's the way I do it. Okay, most of the time. I'm not saying this is not useful to make a wider, okay, a larger movement, even for those who make it from the elbow. Of course, yes, it's a different stimulus. It's always valid, okay? But most of the times, I need to be specific in the range of motion I need for that specific technique, okay? If I want my kumite athlete to punch always from here, I need to put him performing exercise, for example, with a cable or a rubber band or what else from here. Okay, I'm not saying, once again, that's not useful to make the full range of motion. It's always important sometimes doing it, but if I really want to reinforce the speed from here, I need to make the exercise from here with the rubber, with the dumbbell. Let's imagine a close grip bench press that I showed you. Okay, I'm going to put my athlete to make that exercise from the very beginning here. Okay, but if I want to stimulate the punch, a more shorter punch, okay, I also have to include in his or her training strength training program and a half close grip bench press, because our neuromuscular system, our central nervous system will always need the specificity of what we want it to do. Okay, if we want to produce power in a shorter distance, I need to stimulate my neuromuscular system to produce power in a shorter distance. Okay, this is very important to you to understand and to apply in your training plannings. Okay, now I'm sorry. The fifth key element, okay, it's not quite it's not exactly an element. It's something I think is important to talk about in this class. Unilateral versus bilateral exercises. Both have advantages and disadvantages. Okay, an unilateral, I'm going to give an example if you don't if you're not familiarized with these terms. A bilateral exercise, imagine, is a squat made with your both legs at the same time. A unilateral exercise is a squat made with just one leg and then you change and do with the other. Okay, you can apply this to everything, to all exercises virtually. Okay, so the unilateral exercises have the advantage of being more similar to many movements, many techniques we have in karate. For example, in Kumite, most of the displacements are made in just one leg. Okay, um, and that's an advantage. And you must include in your training program this kind of exercise because they are more similar, more specific to what we make in Kumite or Kata. Another advantage is that when we perform a unilateral exercise that will obligate my core, my stabilizers, my trunk, my hip stabilizers to produce more strength. So it's a very good specific way of training your core to Kumite or Kata. Okay? When you make the same exercise bilaterally, the both sides will support each other, okay, and the core also activates, but it's not the same thing, it's not the same intensity, okay. But the bilateral exercise also have advantages. One of them is the time management. If you have less time to put your athletes in the gym or training strength in the dojo, so you will lose less time with bilateral exercise because you just make 10 times, for example, a certain set, and the unilateral exercise you make 10 to one leg and 10 to the other leg is the double of the time, okay, more or less, okay. So time management is an advantage for the bilateral exercises. But there is another one that it's the strength, the load you can put in the exercise will be greater in bilateral exercise. In other words, when you perform, for example, a shoulder press, okay, with a dumbbell, let's suppose you lift 10 kilograms. If you grab a bar, okay, a barbell, you can make the same movement, and you're not going to lift just 10 plus 10. You're going to lift 22 kilograms, 25 kilograms, because our neuromuscular system tends to produce more strength in bilateral actions, and it's not just the sum of the right arm with the left arm, okay. So it can be a good stimulus to put more load, a higher load in certain exercises. And also with athletes that are not so coordinated with a certain exercise, we are not going to lose weeks and weeks of the correct intensity stimulus because they are not making a good unilateral version. So we just put them making a bilateral version because it's safer and it's easier to perform with the right load, because bilateral exercise are also effective, also have a good transfer to unilateral techniques in karate. So it's a good way, a good tool too. But as as I'm always saying, you just need how to use the tools, with who, when, why, okay. So if you know all of this, you just grab, okay, the several possibilities you have in your hands and apply each of them in the right spot at the right time, okay. That's a really good professional, not the karateka that goes to YouTube, grabs some ideas and put them randomly in their athletes. Okay, that's not the way we should do our job. Okay, I hope you agree with me. So I hope this class was useful. Let me just give you one more example that is, I see that all 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 week, okay? When I'm go and scroll on Instagram, on YouTube, and see some exercise that combat sports people do, please stop using the speed ladder in a generical way with drills that are developed from just a creative guy that are filming some exercise to put on his Instagram page, or don't go to the drills that the American football athletes do, because for them it's a good option. For track and field, they also have many drills specific for the track and field. Please don't just go and grab those generical ideas and put them on your Kumite and Kata athletes training program. Why? Specificity. Okay. General drills can be useful to a warm up, can be useful for your karate kids that are at an age that is very important to develop their general motricity. It can be a good idea to vary a certain period of training, but to break some monotony and make a different class so they can relax mentally and physically from the specificity of karate training. But please, if you want to develop your your athlete specific speed of kumite displacements or kata displacements, for example, don't just make these in out out in out out. This is completely useless for what they must do inside the tatami. Okay, you need to be able to observe the displacements your athletes make in kata and kumite, understand what kind of change of directions they need to make during a fight, what kind of displacements they must make to get close to their opponent, and just grab that specific movements from karate and develop speed ladder drills that will have a good transfer to kumite displacements, to kata displacements. Okay, please, let's take our work to another level and not just copycatting what the other sports do. It can be useful for them, it might not be useful for us. Okay, so I give you the hint here. So guys, thank you very much. Please, I'm going on one more thing. I'm going to share a free PDF with the summary of this class. It's a very simple PDF, not a fancy PDF, because I not always have the time to make some more fancier, more fancy in terms of design. But the information is there, and the content is always more important than the format, than the form, at least for me. So go to our Telegram channel. The links are below. And in the next days, I'm going to share the PDF of this class on that channel, and other kind of stuff. I always warn you of the new class on YouTube, through Instagram, through email if I have your email, through our Telegram channels, because most of the classes will be taken out of the YouTube channel when I publish a new one. Okay, so I can really reach those who are really committed to learn more about evidence-based training methodology for karate. Okay, subscribe the channel. We will be notified if you have the notifications activated, and please don't lose these classes. If you really want, they are useful, please help me to share them with your karate friends from all over the world. The classes are always in English, Spanish, and Portuguese, so there is no excuse not to spread this kind of knowledge through all over the world. Okay, thank you very much, and see you next week.